Okay, great. Someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I will.
All right, we have a second.
Second.
All right, Rich seconds. Any discussion?
I like how you've been labeled TW Rich.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kent. What's going to happen when I'm not the tree warden anymore? They're going to have to think of another acronym. Um, there's no discussion. With a call for a roll call vote. Bonnie, could you do a roll call, please?
Yep. Rich Persilitti,
Yes.
Molly Hale,
Yes.
Richard Parrish,
Yes.
and Kent Johnson.
Yes,
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next item of business is the chair report, tree warden report. Um, I can't, I looked at the minutes. I can't remember. Did I talk to you? Did I tell you that I met with Smith College? I may have told Kent. I did tell you.
yeah,
Okay.
it's in the
Yeah.
So
minutes.
I'm waiting for a follow-up on them, for, um, they were actually they wanted to sort of recommend some species. So I'm waiting for their list, to try to figure out if we can actually do something this fall. So
Hmm.
that is still in progress. The other hurdle, I think, is just trying to get, Smith, I'm not sure who would make the decision, but to agree to a setback agreement. So that was a question that I, asked of Lily Caron, and she was gonna research who we needed to talk to or who I needed to talk to. But I mean, so we're sort of in a little bit of a holding pattern, but that's still on the front burner.
Hmm.
I hope. And if not, um, we will have the winter to coalesce it and plant in the spring. That would be my take.
Where would be the planting if not setback sites?
You mean this fall?
At Smith?
Um,
Or are they all
well,
setback that you're talking
no, they're
about?
not all setbacks. There are some locations we identified on Elm Street in the tree belt, actually. If
Oh,
you are, standing at the, I guess it's where the library, the building is, Fine Arts Center Library. So if you're
hmm.
standing there looking across the street, and Bedford Terrace is across the street, if you look to the left, there is a tree belt that is vacant. There's no trees there. There was a very large elm tree there at one time, but that's gone. That is a potential possibility for us to do planting underwires without Smith's approval, in essence. But I do want to still I would like to have their input based upon what they would like to see. And I don't necessarily know if they would count the trees that are planted in the right of way as part of the arboretum that they have there. I don't know the answer
Hmm.
to that question, but I just want to be sensitive to that and just sort of try to work with them. Because when we planted on the other side, when Rob and I, approached them about planting in the public right of way, they were fine, but they just like wanted to know what tree species. And there's another location if you are, standing at Helen Hills Chapel, looking across the street to College Lane. On the right-hand side, there is the president's, is the president's house there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So
that's down the street a little bit.
down the street, and then there's another building which is a dormitory. There is a strip of tree belt there that could use. They actually requested some trees that were, potentially going to get to 50 to 60 feet tall
Hmm. Great.
to create some screening for, and then also with some setbacks as well, potentially there. So there's definitely opportunities for us to plant some plant material there this fall that is at least in the tree belt as part of our
Okay,
planting. So,
great.
um, I spoke earlier a little bit just to sort of, we were talking about all of our, well, we were waiting for you to come, Molly, because we know you're going to be here. We just took time. Um, I was telling Kent and Rich that I went to the New York State Urban Forestry Council Relief Conference,
Hmm.
which is a conference that's very similar to Mass Tree Wardens and Foresters. So Mass Tree Wardens and Foresters in Massachusetts acts as our Urban Forestry Council. every state is required to have an urban forestry council that interacts with U.S. Forest Service.
Hmm.
So that's one of the requirements to actually get grant funding, even though the grant funding has been reduced quite a bit by the large bill that was passed by this Congress and signed by this present administration. So I was telling them I went to the conference, and New York has about 19 million people. And at the conference, although it was in the summer months and it was a busy time, there were only about 150 to 160 people there representing different parts of the state. There were a lot of people from New York City. There were people from Syracuse. But New York, as you well know from traveling there, is very rural and it's very densely populated in certain areas of the state. But I was just saying to Rich and Kent that we're very fortunate that we live and work in Massachusetts because Massachusetts' commitment to managing and caring and replanting the urban canopy throughout the Commonwealth is a true testament. So like Mass Tree Wardens has 500 plus attendees. So
Wow.
yeah, but it was a great conference. I heard multiple interesting topics. Nina Bosick, you must have heard of Nina Bosick. She's one of the primary people that actually was responsible for the uh, patent for CU soil, structural soil. So
Hmm.
that's why it's called CU, Cornell University. She actually is retired, but at a professor emerita, but she still does a tremendous amount of research. So she actually was gave a presentation on the research she's done with hybridizing oaks and actually trying to find oaks that actually can grow in the urban environment that sort of exhibit all of the properties of trees that we want in the urban environment, drought tolerant, um,
Hmm.
medium, large, and small oaks, drought tolerant, heat tolerant, and actually would fit in an urban setting. So she has a bunch of research.
Hmm.
She has a website. I'll send if you want to just peruse it. It's pretty interesting,
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah.
And then there was another great one that I went to about the cemetery restorations in some parts of New York, where, they value the urban tree canopy in the cemetery just as much as they do the historic stones and tombs. So they sort of talked about, and then there was another same person in that talk, which was who was a professional birder and a researcher and talked about the migratory patterns of birds and how cemeteries sort of make that connection
Hmm.
um, to our urban environment. And he was particularly his research focus was crows,
Hmm.
which was very interesting. And I didn't realize how intelligent crows are. I was blown away. So I learned something, nothing about trees, about crows. Um, and then I also got to uh, see Andy Hillman, and Andy Hillman was the former forester of the city of Ithaca, and also a public works commissioner in Oswego, which is the community that we had the conference in. And he's spoken at multiple conferences in Massachusetts and worked for Davy Resource Group at the time when we engaged them to perform our street tree inventory. So he was there as well. So it was really interesting. Um, so that's the only trip I've been on this summer. I went to New York and drove all over the place and just enjoyed myself for a week. So that was fun. Um, another topic is ongoing sidewalk work that we're doing. So the city has engaged with Warner Brothers to do a paving contract, and they've mobilized and they're doing sidewalk work right now in a couple of streets. And I wanted to share some photos with you.
Hmm.
Let me just find the share screen and hopefully it'll come up. Share. Come on. Share desktop 2. Let's see if this works. Can you all oops, bypass this?
Yes, we
Yeah.
see it.
Yes?
Yep.
Kent, yes?
Yes,
Yeah, we see
Okay.
your screen.
Okay.
no photos, just your,
Are you seeing the tree roots or not?
no, we're
No.
just seeing your
Just
downloads folder and
it's
Okay.
just your desktop.
Okay.
something
All right.
else,
Hold on a second. Let me try again.
like the
Let
wrong screen.
me see if I
It
can.
has to be the most recent screen that you opened.
Yeah, I fortunately have multiple Chrome. Let's try this one. How about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So
wow.
yeah. So this is a sidewalk. I'm crouched down on the right. This is the sidewalk that actually was buckled by this. This is a Norway maple.
Hmm.
This is a private tree. So we treat private trees and municipal trees with the same type of care during these projects. Um, this tree is in fair condition, extensive root system underneath the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So the
Wow.
contractor is required by in our contract specs to do some air excavation at every one of these locations to determine the amount of root material that's there because they have to match a grade. You can't see it, but in the foreground, you can see the two stakes, right? That's the edge of the driveway apron and the sidewalk continuing down
Oh,
the
yeah.
street. The part you can't see is the very bottom of the picture is where the sidewalk connection ended. So this whole area will be filled with structural soil by hand, chinked in there sort of by hand and with shovels carefully, and then brought up to the subgrade that they need, and then they will put flexible pavement over the top. So this is an example of a Norway maple. It's very healthy. It has a full canopy. It has certain defects in it, but for the most part, the tree was in good condition, very little tip dieback. So you can see that's representative of the root system.
Hmm.
Behind me is a yard. So there's an extensive root system all the way around. Um, this also shows you that Norway maples are pretty durable to urban environment, urban construction. Um, so now this hole and this is a sugar maple root system. It's about 20 feet away.
Hmm.
Sugar maple has the same sort of rooting volume. I mean, sorry, same lawn volume. So that those wooden two by fours, that's the tree protection that's wrapped around the
Hmm.
trunk armor. And we want to retrofit this, but in order to figure out how to retrofit it and try to understand the amount of roots that are in there, but this is what we ran into. So you can see there's two large roots sort of in the very middle of the hole on the right-hand side against the embankment that are just sheared off.
Yeah.
Those roots were like that when they air excavated. That was not part of this process, but that
Hmm.
tells me that this tree, which is in decline, is compartmentalizing those roots because it can no longer
Mhm.
support that. This is also indicative of sugar maples and how they do not do well in the urban heat island. They are not a great street tree any longer. And even with a lot of lawn expanse, they still struggle. So so then we move to this is the same picture of the first tree, Norway maple. Again, you see this really large structural root right here, all out of fibrous roots. That's the daily. So then every day I get a daily construction report from the engineer about the progress of the work. I actually went on site to see what they were doing. They didn't work today, but and then again, here's another photograph. This is the sugar maple trees on the left. This is the special CU soil that they're compacting, and then there'll be a match line cut on both sides of the blacktop, and there'll be porous or flexible pavement um, in there, so there's good water infiltration. And if the roots, the roots on this tree will not impact the sidewalk like the Norway maple. The Norway maple will still continue to grow. Here's a Norway maple, just an example of how they're putting just, there's a machine behind them, an excavator with their bucket curled up, and they are holding the structural soil, and these employees are shoveling it out and putting it in by hand because they have to stuff the structural soil underneath the root systems to support it.
Hmm.
If you just took the structural soil and just dumped it on top of the root system, because it's such a mat, you would have a void underneath there. So then when they went to roll it, the essence of rolling it would actually crush the root systems.
Right. Right.
So, or inadvertently damage them.
Where did they get trained to know how to do this?
They actually, the company that provided them with the material, I can't remember the name of the company. They have training videos.
Oh,
So you don't need to be, I do not believe you need to be a certified installer of this material. Um, you do need to be certified to install the porous pavement though. Depending upon what there are multiple vendors that make porous pavement or flexible pavement now.
hmm.
This is from Reed Custom Soils, I believe. This is a patented, and there's only so many distributors it's only one distributor in Massachusetts that I'm aware of. At um just another photo. Here's a picture of the fellow from Northeast Tree Care doing air spading. So it's actually air excavation
Oh,
with an air knife on a
hmm.
standard compressor that you would use for construction work, saw cutting the roadway.
Hmm.
And basically the object is to blow away all the soil so you can see what you exactly need. It's there, and then you move the soil out of the way. And then our plan shows that they're to air excavate 2 feet below the finished grade. But
Hmm.
in this particular case, in those previous photos I showed you, we were not 2 feet deep because we found the root plate. It was sufficiently below the grade, so the subgrade for gravel for a sidewalk is, about 8 inches is all you need to support a sidewalk because there's not heavy equipment across it like there is a roadway. So we stopped the air excavation so we didn't waste this gentleman's time any longer, and then they chinked in all the material. So that's my last photo. But I just wanted to show that to you just to let you know that we are, trees, even trees that trees that were trees that we planted. This is the same process we went through on North Elm Street last year on the trees that we planted in 2019, which were all London plane trees. And we retrofitted every single one of those holes. And then on Woodbine Avenue, we've identified locations where trees once existed. We're going to go back and plant them. And we actually are retrofitting that. We're not retrofitting anything because there's no tree there. We're creating a place for the tree's roots to go through. So when
Hmm.
they're done with the construction, Jen has it on the planting list to go back to Woodbine Avenue. So just thought it would be kind of interesting for you to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
very
thank
interesting.
you.
Yeah, in real time. I mean, again, like this is a work in progress though. There's still a lot of contractors that do not work with this technology. They're not required to. Our contracts since it's been quite a while now. We use this technology in every one of our contracts. It's a bid item. I walk out there with the engineer, we count the amount of trees that are going to be impacted. We determine the linear feet of air spading that has to be done, and then the contractor bids on that in a dollar amount. We also determine the amount of structural soil, so the contractor bids on that as well, and the installation of it all, and every one of these contracts. So this is great because we're trying to preserve everything that we have. And then the other thing too you didn't see is that they have a water truck around here somewhere because you can't leave these. This has to be all done in one day.
Hmm.
So you can't air excavate and then leave the root systems exposed because they'll dry out like any plant material.
Hmm.
So for some reason something happened. They were set to cover all this with burlap and keep it soaking wet for the next day, but they didn't have to, and they ended up doing everything in the same day. So there was another tree farther down that they did as well. There was 3 trees on the street, so 3 large trees that were,
Hmm.
28 inches plus in diameter. So, and we will continue to do this kind of work because we've planted so many street trees that we've planted so many trees all over the place that Where we're trying to widen in some places we have to modify how the sidewalk moves. We have to move the sidewalk to the left back towards the curb in order to create that 5 foot wide required sidewalk, 60 inches.
Mm.
Sometimes we have to go back to 48 because we don't want to damage the root flare of the tree, and we may not have enough room to move towards the curb. So,
What do you do in cases where the roots have, raised up the sidewalk, made like lumps? Do you,
so this that Norway maple, that's what that exactly was. So what they did is they peeled off all the blacktop, and there was concrete underneath by hand, and then we brought in the air excavation, and then there were some roots that we needed to cut.
oh,
I go there and I sort of give them instruction and sort of help work with them to cut the roots, the right roots. And then in a case where you can't cut the roots, they're too large, they're structural roots, what we end up doing is um, the length of that hole, the length of that patch becomes much longer, so you can actually meet your
ah,
ADA compliant
okay.
percentage grades.
Yeah,
So instead of
wow.
being right here and you
Hmm.
just go up and over, it's actually a transition that's more like this.
Yeah, okay. I
The
was
com-
wondering about that.
yeah, the complicating factor of this particular piece is that there was a driveway right on the other side of the Snorri Maple
Oh,
that we had to meet. So
mm,
you're meeting four grades here. So you're
yeah,
trying to
yeah, I
match
get
them
it.
all. But I mean, it's used a lot, and I'm very proud of this because it's taken some time to get this incorporated into for all the years I've worked here, and CU Soil has been around. It's taken some time to get this incorporated, and it's been common practice now since probably 2000, I don't know, late 2000 teens. So this is good. So every time we have a project, it's kind of I love to take photographs because people are like, what is air excavation? I'm like, well, here it
Mm,
is. Because believe it or not, there's not a lot of diagrams out there that actually show air excavation. So when you're trying to explain air excavation in a contract document, it tends to be more texty. I'm a more
mm,
visual person. I like to see
mm,
like a drawing of the person with the tool and et cetera. So, um,
mm.
okay. Um, so that's that. We have multiple streets that are having pavement done on them as well, including these two streets, plus other ones that are not necessarily having sidewalk work at this time, but will in the future. There's also going to be restoration of a multitude of streets that were excavated by Eversource Gas. So they're doing what they call permanent trench patch on many streets that had gas mains and gas services replaced. So, but there's a lot of moving parts to these contracts, and it takes time. But trying to think of what else I have for you. I told you already about Smith College. There are no public shade tree hearing requests as far as I am. There's none to this point, which is good. Um, we are, we've done some removals this summer of dead and dying trees in order to basically take them out of the inventory just because of their condition. So we were gonna hopefully be able to grind all those stumps in start probably in mid-September, so we can hopefully go back and replant some of those locations right away. So I have a list. I have to give the new list to Jen. So that's really about it. Anyone have any questions? I feel like I'm probably forgetting something, but I don't have any new updates. Um, the setback initiative. Have any of you done anything or gone anywhere and looked at any locations or met with any? No, okay. All right.
I still need to, um, I need to meet with Jen and walk those Ryan Road sites.
Okay. All right.
That's going to happen soon.
Okay. All right.
Do you know when she's getting back?
I think 9/1.
Oh, wow.
So she's got limited service wherever she's gone.
Oh, okay, not
I
till
got her
September.
email response. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So um I um I do owe Christina an email or a phone call about a setback for a trees on the corner right near your house, Kent, on the corner of State and Summer. So we do have some, I received some setback agreements already that have been signed. So we do have some setback work to do this fall, but I haven't really done anything else other than that, just sort of limited and talked to Smith College. So any questions, comments? Fall planting. Anyone want to talk about fall planting?
Is there a plan?
Yeah, yes. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Yes.
When will it start?
That's a good question. Let me just find the email that I have from Jen. So we have the last dig safe that we dig safe. Okay, so dig safe 525. Let me just make sure. So let me just make sure. Let me see if there's a list here I can share with you. So DigSafe 525, that's the most recent DigSafe I have, and that was put together by Jen and Sue and Tom. And it's for 10 trees on Armory Street.
Hmm.
So we're going to plant the vacant spaces on Armory Street and then that are on the street itself, and then we're going to move into the parking lot. So we're trying to find, I think she's got 10 Gleditsia or 10 honey locust. So I don't know when we're going to start. I think, as you saw in those photographs, the ground is extremely dry right now. So I would anticipate we were just probably going to have to plug along, and hopefully we can start it in the second week of September if the weather is cool enough and we get some more moisture. We definitely need some rain. Some
It's
nice
raining.
rain. I know.
Good
I
rain
don't,
today where it's not coming all at once,
right,
too.
right. I don't want to jinx it. That's all.
Yeah.
So
Rich, those on Armory Street, does that 10 trees include the ones in the parking lot? Or
yes,
so that's
yes,
got dig saved also.
yes. That is on this dig safe list. Let me just double check the
Great.
photograph. Yep. Let me see. There's only one. Interesting. I only got one photograph. I'll need a few more than that, but um, and then the other email that I got from Jen and Sue. Limited access to cell phone. Hold on a second. Sorry. Okay. So I will share this with you so you can see it. Share desktop 2. I think this will work. Okay, can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay, might be a little small. I apologize. I can blow it up a little bit, maybe. Can you see that a little bit?
That's better.
Okay, so that is the list that we have so far of plant material. So 6 bald cypress, 7 London plane, 1 red maple, 5 sweet gum, 1 frontier elm, 10 street keeper honey locust, and I believe that's for Armory Street. Winter King hawthorn, red bud, black gum, 3 black gums, 1 yellowwood, 3 hackberries, and 1 Princeton Century ginkgo. So that is in addition to what we already have in the nursery. The only ones that I know that are spoken for, these probably are spoken for, but I haven't connected with Sue. It's on the tree tracker sheet that we have, but I know that the street keeper honey locust is Armory Street. These other ones, I know the black gums, I think one of them is a replacement tree for a setback we did on North Main Street, and these probably all have a home already. But I will tell you that you have any questions before I shut this off? No. Um, I definitely, we did purchase more B and B stock this past year. Let me refrain. Last fall, we purchased B and B stock. And even though we overwintered it and we healed it in, the B and B stock didn't, some of the B and B stock didn't make it.
Mm,
And I'm just sort of trying not, I really don't want to buy B and B stock if we don't have to. I really am trying to shy away from it. I think, and Rich, you can speak to this as well, and Ken, you all three of you can, just the amount of effort it takes to move it,
mm.
dig
Yeah.
Yeah, they're heavy.
excavate the hole to the correct size and roll it in, and then there's the transporting of it all, which also can be difficult because I don't typically take a tractor with us when we deliver these things. They actually, everything gets rolled off the trailer on a plank. So that can be sort of, or, but my concern is that the B&B stock is just, it's difficult to manage and it's difficult to overwinter it.
Mm,
So we may end up actually, that list I showed you might be increasing based on some of the mortality that we had in the nursery.
mm.
So I know that Jen and Sue did a little nursery survey. I don't know, Rich, if you were there, or was it Bob Haxby?
No,
Might have been Bob Haxby.
no,
I need to meet with Jen and Sue in the next week or two just to sort of talk about the list and the planting locations. So, and then we have some trees. We have to go back to JFK. We have to plant some trees at JFK. And the other thing that this list does not reflect is the potential for planting in the back of JFK School, sort of along the fence between JFK School and Spring Grove Cemetery. And then some of the plantings that we were going to do near the tennis courts and the basketball court that we have to revisit that because it's now all been repaved.
Yeah.
So the director of maintenance wanted to plant some trees around the basketball court, but not necessarily too close to the tennis courts because of leaf litter.
Mhm.
So I sort of have to revisit that conversation with his name's Tony, and I think Jen was involved in part of that as well. But I mean, I think I think we're on the right track. I think we'll be probably around somewhere between anywhere between 150 and 200 trees planted. So, and we're on track probably to do, I think, roughly 100 removals, roughly,
Mm.
which has been what we've
Wow.
done every year for the last, I don't know how many years, but it's anywhere between 70 to 100. But it's just the nature of this. We have a over mature canopy in many places.
yeah,
And the other thing too is the ashes now are even ashes this spring that actually looked really well over on Cardinal Way are now in serious decline.
Ugh.
So they reached that between the 3 to 5 year point. They seem to be doing okay. You see a bunch of epicormic sprouting at the base with throughout the canopy. You're like, it still looks pretty good. And then poof,
Mm,
ooh, and they end up sort of like DED, sort of just turns the corner on a elm tree.
mm,
So, so we have places to plant. It's just not as easy as it once was, which is a good thing. But doesn't mean we can't try other places that are not that we haven't thought of yet, maybe. So, um,
We have Hubbard Avenue and Ridgeview on your list. Those are ones I think we didn't finish last year.
yep. Yeah, Hubbard, I did. I actually met with the resident on Hubbard, um, who had a concern about the couple of trees there, and we're all set with that. So, yep. But that's where we ended off, actually. I think that's the last place we planted was Hubbard Avenue, I think, right, Rich? I
We
think.
didn't quite get to it. It was scheduled and then
Okay.
weather didn't permit, I think, and we never did
Yep.
plant it.
Okay.
And I
Um,
was up on Ridgeview the other day and there are a bunch of white stakes, so
yep. Another place we had tree mortality.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's the other thing too, is that Brooke has been everything watering everything we've planted this year and everything we planted last year. Um, but to the best of our ability and trying to stay ahead of things. So, and what I think we have, we had trees leaf out this year that I think suffered because of the drought last year, and I think they struggled as soon as it got hot this year. They struggled. So we stayed on top of them and tried to water them, but sometimes they turn a corner. And then all the trees at St. Mary's Cemetery that were the Winter King hawthorns, if you've driven by there, you see they're all restaked. It's because they all tipped over.
Oh,
So again, there's an example of a tree with a really large, healthy looking canopy,
Yeah.
but a very small root
mm,
ball. And they just like I don't know how many times they went over. I ended up just spending an afternoon there and just staking them so they hopefully don't, and they haven't gone over since then, but so,
mm,
and then I also have to reach out to Roy, the cemetery foreman, about planting on the other side of Bridge Road. But
right.
and another place that I was thinking is that I was walking, I went over to JFK School to look at the trees from my office, and then I went to the roundabout at Look Park, and there's a section of roadway there from the entrance and exit of JFK to the side parking lot and the roundabout. There's actually no shade at all.
Mm,
And the part that's bothersome there is that I think there's a very small tree belt, but it can't support a tree. So if we were to plant, we'd have to plant on the other side. And there's a white farmhouse there, Warner Farm. So
Oh,
that's,
over there, yeah.
yeah, there's a section of road there that we could also maybe potentially do some planting, because I think the right of way there is pretty wide.
Oh,
It's 66 feet wide. Um,
there's road that goes in from Bridge Road, you mean? To
yes,
the JFK parking lot?
yes. So if you walk past the JFK parking lot and go towards Look Park,
Mm-hmm.
there's no shade. There
Right.
was sort of a shade void there, and we planted those Princess Century ginkgos on the other side,
Mm.
but they are, I mean, for all intents and purposes, there's quite a parking lot over there, so people park, and there's partially on partial. I think there's setbacks. So, um,
Mm.
but oh, sorry, on Bridge Road. But I can add that to the tree tracker list. Any questions? I'm sorry I've done all the talking. I apologize, but Jen's not here to speak to this, and we'll have a better update in September, our September meeting. Kent, would you mind filling Molly in about our potential guest?
Sure. I've invited Stephen Nutter to come speak with us.
Hmm.
He's the executive director of Green Cambridge. And they have a really interesting program called Canopy Crew where they hire high school students to um, basically, I think they scout out sites or contact homeowners and learn something about trees and then actually set backyard trees. It's not,
Oh.
it's a nonprofit, it's not governmental organization. So I'm not really sure. One thing I'm curious about is where they get their funding, but I think
Hmm.
it's grant funding. And they can plant backyard trees. So they identify homeowners who would like trees and the high school students plant them.
Hmm. Are they property of the city?
I don't think so. I mean, that's what I'm curious about. Since it's not a city program, it's a
Oh.
nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
I think they don't have the same restrictions that we do.
Hmm. Hmm.
I was involved with it at the very beginning, helping him try to identify some sites by looking at owner occupied parcels that had possibly a non-pervious surface or a pervious surface that was big enough to plant a tree. So that was quite a while ago, and I think the program is going strong.
You know who else has a program similar to that is Groundworks Lawrence, Groundwork Lawrence, I think,
Oh,
where they are also a nonprofit. They've been a recipient of funding from DCR because of the environmental justice component of their city, but they use I'm not sure if they use public funds or I think they may use private funds, but they plant in people's backyards. So they spend a lot of time working with people to try to match right tree, right place with someone
hmm,
who's interested in supporting it in their backyard. So they plant all over the place.
hmm,
They do also a lot of other ecological restoration in Lawrence. So and then there's Groundwork South Coast, which is another um, nonprofit group that has also been a recipient of DCR funding for environmental justice area plantings, and I think they do something similar, planting in backyards.
hmm,
I think it's great considering considering the level of by right construction that we're seeing everywhere, not just in Northampton, but across the Commonwealth. I think getting this information to potential homeowners, new homeowners, where there maybe was forested landscape there, or
hmm,
a forested edge or a wooded edge that is no longer there and it's now a backyard, and trying to work with people to better understand the importance and the value of trees, and then trying to find a way to help them get the tree planted and everything, I think is really a worthwhile cause. Um,
yeah.
so it would be interesting to see if you know, the commission, and I can't do that unless it's within the public right of way, or within the setback, but potentially, I mean, I don't want to lean on Tree Northampton, but Tree Northampton could be sort of assist with that somehow, and maybe there's some subgroup or a different group of folks that would be interested in starting. I mean, that's really how Rob got started. Rob just walked around and knocked on doors and said, "Hey, I'll plant a tree in your yard if you like it." And if I'll plant a tree in your yard if you like it for free as long as you pay for it. And that's kind of how Rob got started, and then it just morphed into what we have today. But I mean, I think the concept is a good one. And again, I think I do see homes that are built that are by right construction now, or that are homes that were built due to an A&R, right? Approval not required. And there may be one tree planted, but it's whatever the developer plants. So it'd be nice to be able to have some sort of educational component, or just be able to make these people aware that are moving from, maybe it's the first time they ever owned a house. Maybe they've never had to take care of a tree before. I don't know. But there's got to be a place to. That's why anytime someone asks me a question, I try to help them. I just can't. You just have to be careful about. You have to utilize public resources appropriately in the appropriate place. But if people ask me questions, I try to direct them to who may be able to help them.
Hmm.
Well, I wonder, could we do an educational program about trees? Encouraging people to plant
Sure,
their own trees?
sure.
'Cause
I
we-
I don't. I mean, I don't see why not. We can do an educate, or we could do our own educational workshop.
yeah,
I mean, we sort of, you know, do a workshop for pruning. We could do a similar workshop, that could be in a particular place. I think it's nice to have a workshop where you're actually in person,
yeah.
personally speaking, I mean, I've done enough online training that it's sort
Yeah,
of
yeah, for sure.
gets a little, and plus you can make connections with people online, but you can't, it's so different than just being in person.
Hmm.
So, um, but, um, any,
Well, are you thinking of a workshop about basically like how to adopt and care for a tree in your yard? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know. I was just thinking that, we can't plant trees in people's backyards, but we can encourage people to plant trees in their backyards. And I'm not really sure what form that would take. It's just the germ of an idea at this point.
Hmm.
I mean, you would have, if we were going to put a workshop on, we would have to have some sort of conduit for people to be able to go through to get the tree. Because if someone's going to come to a
Yeah,
workshop and, it's one thing to want to know how to plant a tree and understand how to care for a tree, maybe how to prune a tree. But then in the end, you don't get a tree out of it, or you don't find a way
right.
to get a tree. Then going to the workshop is not really, it's like, why did I just do that?
Need
So
like
we,
an ordering program to go with it.
yeah, yeah, or an entity to connect with that can help them.
Yeah.
And I don't, Rich, and correct me if I'm wrong, outside of outside of planting setbacks and in the right of way, have you been involved in planting on private property as part of Tree Northampton?
I have not.
Okay, okay. So, I think that would be probably the first part of the conversation to try to figure out who we could, what private entity we could partner with, or if Tree Northampton even has capacity to sort of help and then pass that off to another entity that would be interested. I don't, I mean, really, in essence, if someone wanted to plant a tree on a private property, maybe just using the simple way that Rob did it was like you buy the tree and then I'll get some volunteers to come help you plant it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, something as simple as that, um, but I definitely think, the more the more by right construction we have across the Commonwealth is definitely going to impact private tree canopy. And I think that I'm sometimes I feel that's a brightly burning fire because the permitting process is very different than it would be if you were to do something that requires site plan review or special permit. So I think it's going to be great to hear from Steve and sort of understand how they run their program. I could also at some point invite, his name is Tennis Lilly. He's the person that's in charge of Groundworks Lawrence planting program. So he also would be interested in probably coming and giving a presentation about what they do there. So that might be a follow-up too, Kent, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. So, well, that's about, I don't really have anything else. If there's anything that you all wanted to talk about.
What about that, maybe it's too early, but that, workshop that I emailed you about?
Yep.
The,
No, it's all good. Go ahead.
the forestry, I forget what it was called,
Tree steward.
tree steward? It was like for tree wardens and tree commission members and people like that to go and learn things.
Yeah, I'm
And
interested
you
in
had to
that
pick
too.
one out of two dates.
Yep. That I
I would
Kent.
be interested to go on
Okay.
one of the dates, but I was just thinking if anybody else from Northampton was going to go, it
Yeah,
would be nice to
I'm
coordinate days.
interested, and we should go on the October 2nd because October 1st we have for this meeting at 4 o'clock, so or 4:30. So that'd be difficult.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
that's true.
we may, it depends. So the catch is that I teach.
So we might have to cancel that meeting
We might
anyway.
have to either cancel it or just move it to another date.
Yeah.
Um, just
What's your
because,
teaching? Where are you teaching? Oh, you're teaching at
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Oh,
volunteer and I teach for tree steward training. I teach the component about ordinances and bylaws
uh-huh.
and municipal tree ordinances. So
So you have to be there both days anyway.
yes, yep, yep. So the only thing I mentioned to Kent is that we just have to think about the quorum issue.
Hmm.
That's all. But if there's three people there, it's not a quorum, so it's fine. So
Oh,
if there was four commissioners that wanted to go, two could go on one day, two could go on the other day. I don't, if that's the case, I don't think I don't want to speak for Sue, but I think because of her job, and I don't know if Sue's taken that already or not, but it's going to be a little different. We have a couple of different speakers this year, so it'll be, and the material I have is updated every year. I update it based on new information that I have or new experiences. So, but yeah, it's a good course. I was telling Ken as well that it's a good place to also connect with other people that are doing in similar roles across the Commonwealth. And we last year there was people from Connecticut that came. Two people came from the Connecticut shore actually to take the training.
Great.
So, but
Hmm.
and it used to be one training a year, but it was for 2 days. So what they did is they changed it and made it two trainings, single days, so they could accommodate more folks.
Hmm.
And they sort of streamlined the program a little bit.
Hmm.
So,
Are you interested in going, Ken?
Yeah, so we should pick a date and sign up because there's limited to 20 people each day.
Right. How late does it run in the day? I
Goes
mean,
till 4 o'clock, 8:30
till
to
oh,
4.
4.
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah.
Maybe we could join this meeting like from some other remote location. I'm not sure where. One of those rest areas along Route 90.
Or just on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's possible. I think, if you my only issue is that I stay there till 4, so I have to it's for me to be the chair, it's kind of hard to be mobile. That's the
Right.
that's the only problem that I have.
Yeah.
So driving back, and I may choose to stay there somewhere, but I won't get to where I need to be knowing the layout of the area, and there's not a I have to go I think I have to go towards Shrewsbury. Not Shrewsbury, sorry. Oh my gosh, the next town over. It's not it's not anyways, it's where Lake Quinsigamon is. I have to probably go there to go to a hotel. But so I don't know. It may not work out to have a meeting. We could also maybe have a later meeting. It could be from 5 to 6 instead of 4:30.
Hmm.
So that's another way of doing it too. So, but why don't you two of you communicate, if you wouldn't mind, just communicate offline and figure out what works best for you, and then we'll just make it all work.
Could we put the meeting on a different week just
Uh,
for that one time?
Probably. Let me see. Let me just find a calendar. Where did you go? Calendar. So let's see. What is this here? October board meeting. So our typical meeting would be the 1st and the 15th.
Hmm.
So we could do, I mean, I guess technically we typically only meet, I mean, we could do Tuesday the 30th, which is the last day in September, potentially.
Hmm.
Because,
Hmm.
I don't necessarily
Yeah.
know. I don't necessarily know if, I mean, I don't know how you all feel, but if there's a benefit for us doing a meeting like on the like on the 8th and another one on the 15th, it's just the following week. I don't know if we'd have
Mm.
anything else to, if there's,
Right. It's
we
such a
would.
short gap.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we could do it the other way. We could do it on the 15th and we could do it on the 29th because there are there's 5 Wednesdays in October, but then it's sort of the same thing. We would be meeting the following week after that, the first week of November. So,
Well, putting it on a different day of the week would be all right.
yep. Or again, we could also do a modified meeting where it's just not as long,
Hmm.
but I think why don't the two of you discuss what you like to do and then just send me an email and we'll maybe have some more information for the full commission at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's okay with you both.
Yeah, Molly,
Okay.
I sent you an email earlier, so you could just look at the dates and let me know what you think.
Okay.
Rich, do you do you want to talk a little bit about some of the pruning you did over the summer, just to give the Kent and Molly a little,
Yeah. Uh, After your observation that some of those elms and Kentucky coffee trees were failing due to significant foliage growth on weak stems, I went around and particularly for the Kentucky coffee trees and mainly over in the Hawley Phillips there streets, I pruned back, I think about 15 of those coffee trees, which had really robust growth this season from the wet spring. And yeah, and it was obvious that they were at risk of some of the young branches just breaking right off. So I pruned a lot of them back to get them more vertical, take some of those horizontal shoots off that would fail easily, which puts them in like in a better structural position than to carry on. Um, and I think as Richard mentioned earlier, the elms also had a lot of robust growth, and they were having some issues. Um, and we could continue to look at them going forward, but certainly in the winter, try to hit them again. And I know, for instance, those ones that were up there in front of the school at Elm,
yeah,
is that Sullivan?
yeah, D.A. Sullivan School. Yeah.
Yeah. Last winter we had pruned them with Jay, very significantly, but they had so much growth in the spring. Uh, it's incredible how much they were growing. So yeah, I think they're just going to need a lot of more routine attention uh, to keep them in good structural position.
Rich, I think those elms are at the point where they have rooted in so well that they
Yeah.
seem to be able to be pruned almost every year,
Uh,
and it's interesting because Jay has a tremendous amount of pruning experience and understands the value of pruning the elms pretty hard. So for example, the elms, I don't know if you went and visited the ones that are on Parsons Street across from the cemetery building, that's the corner of
yep.
Parsons and Linden. So
Okay.
those had,
Yes. Yep. Yep.
right, so those had gotten pruned, their lower branches up almost like 15 feet from the ground were taken off. And they looked like they were sort of like lion-tailed in essence, but actually they really came back like amazing,
Right.
and
Right.
it's really impressive. Um, so yeah, I'm just thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. You sort of filled a stopgap role there, and then I also asked Bartlett Tree to go do some pruning of some of the Kentucky coffee trees that were a little large, like the one that was on High Street. They went in and sort of tried to redirect one of the stems because that had a codominant stem. One of it snapped off, and so I couldn't reach it, and we didn't have anybody with our bucket truck, so they did it. So they've done some work for us under our pruning contract. So
Mhm.
it's been so thank you. But I mean, it's to the point now, Rich. You look at some of these trees, and they're a little too like I can't really reach at that anymore. So I guess that's a good thing. But but it
Yeah.
really the pruning has proven to be another key part of the recipe to success. If you look at those London plane trees along North Elm Street, um, down by the high school and by the section between the hospital and Hatfield Street, they are just glorious
Mhm.
and structurally very sound. They'll continue to need work, but they are on
Yeah.
the right path. So thank you. Uh, thanks for the update.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? None. Okay. All right. So I will get back to I gotta connect with Sue and Jen about the planting and Also add the section of Bridge Road to the, maybe we can some trees planted on Bridge Road in that one section. And then we'll just hopefully have a bigger update at our next meeting in early September.
Oh,
So,
I thought of one other little thing.
yes.
I don't think those stakes have been taken out yet along the bike path in Florence.
Okay.
I think they're still there.
Yes, we need to get them. All right, I'll go check. I think they stakes on bike path. Yeah. I have to meet with Bob. Well, I actually gave the information to Jen about what the right of ways were, so they were going to try to stake the right of ways 20, 20 feet beyond the right of way on the ends of those areas so we can maybe get some couple of trees in on each side.
Oh, good.
But I will follow up with Jen. Okay. Any other comments before we? All right, could we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, there's a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, just raise your hand. There we go. Okay, Bonnie, we are all set. Thank you very much.